Hello everybody and welcome to Live and Let's Dice Live here on a Monday evening this time around, because the fact that we, and I do mean we, the royal we, are going to be doing a live stream with a bit of a twist, because Beanie and I are here today and we're going to be painting some Warhammer for you lovely people here, because you know it, we love to paint. We love looking at our grey plastic piles of shame. But this time we're thinking that maybe we should address that. Why don't you wave to the beautiful people, Bean? Blow kisses to the people. They can see your hands. In the top right-hand corner of my screen, you will be able to see Beanie's lovely hands there. I'm pointing at you using a paintbrush, and I've just realised, quite comically, that the frame rate of my webcam is slightly low enough to make it look like my paintbrush is made of, like, noodle meat. If you see the preview on the thing there,
I would say it looks more like a very cheap lightsaber.
Oh, actually, there we go. Then we've just got to do Duel of the Fates here. Luke, I'm like your dad, like. Oh, and then the classic slice off the hand. No, my hand.
My wanking hand!
My wanking claw!
If only that's what he had actually said in Empire Strikes Back.
And there we go. Round of applause there. That was our community theatre adaptation there. That was the highlight of the stream straight away, and we will not be doing any more. So we might as well just close this down now, Bean. If you want to plug social media.
It was brilliant, and I feel like we've learned a lot and shown who we are as actors.
Well, the thing is I've told people before that my amazing idea for Ringo Star Wars, and every single time I bring it up, everyone's just like, do it. So that may be the prelude to it there. Just like, oh, Luke, I'm your father. Whoosh, whoosh, pew, pew. It's just, I think that the comedy comes into effect when it's not just Ringo Starr's voice for every character, but every sound effect too. So when when the TIE fighter is going past, he's just going, whoa.
Well, the way that I look at it is that it would get really tiresome, but the problem is the joke would keep giving back and you'd start giggling again. Say 2 minutes later, you just start laughing again and again.
And then in another 5 minutes passing, like, this is the least funny thing I've ever seen on YouTube. Oh, it's funny again. This is actually pretty sick.
Yeah, it's like that South Park episode where Cartman just keeps farting in Kyle's face. And he does it like, okay, you guys, it's not funny anymore. Yes, it is. And he does it again, and it's absolute poetry.
I love it so much. Hello, by the way, to Lawson, who's in the chat here, as well as Count Poro and Chris Breezy and Ryder are in here as well. So, glad to see you all here, and I know that it's a little bit different than normal, that usually we put up content with Beanie and I trying to beat the ever-living piss out of one another via the format of Warhammer, but today we are putting down our shovels of aggression and picking up our patching trowels of creativity, and instead we're going to be painting some Warhammer today so that we can bring more units to the table in the near future. Now, Beanie Boy, what are you painting is the real question on everyone's lips.
So today I'm going to continue painting my Brocknir Ironmaster and his robot pals, because once he's painted, then I can go on to the Thunderkin, and then I have one of every unit painted.
Yeah.
And I would be very happy with that, ready for when they inevitably go, and here's more Votann. It's like, I have to paint them too.
Or it would be the least cool thing that GW could do would be like, and now half of them are legends for some reason. You haven't even had a full
that'd be
range,
amazing.
And you've got
7 units.
Well, it's like when they brought out that bloody Ulthar the Destined, didn't they? No one runs him, and it's just like, come on, give some more named characters. Could they have not? They released a different Einhir champion for a commemorative model. Could they have not just put that as an actual named character that comes out? Like, it just feels like you guys are just severely lacking across the board in terms of that unique character flavor.
I just read the book.
I
read the High Carl's orders.
Nice.
And there's a couple of characters in there that I think they can bring in a new High Carl who'll be a named character, and possibly an Einhir champion called Ironbreaker, I think. No, Iron Helm, who's a bit of a bad man. If I'm honest, he just like whining a lot. But
God loves a whiner.
That's right.
Now, Beanie's going to be painting Robot Pals and the Iron... What's his name? The Iron
Brocknir Iron Master.
So
Nice, easy thing to say.
What's his gimmick in game? What's he do? What's his sort of spiel?
So he's essentially a tech marine with friends.
Oh, right, okay.
Yeah. So if we go through it, he's got his 3 ecogs, and what they do is basically they count as bullet shields, and in the lore, what they are basically the equivalent of a servitor that will go out there and do some like tasks for the Iron. The Brocknir Iron Master, and then he's got his Ironkin assistant. And unlike the Imperium that treats anything that's a robot as evil, the Votann treat an Ironkin as an equal. So he basically has a say in the projects, and basically they're like best mates who've been working together for years on projects. And it's kind of nice. The actual relationship between them is really, really lovely. Instead of you're a baby that we slayed and we made into a flying gun holder.
Yeah, it feels like that's a much more like nice way to treat all of the cool technology rather than just replicated it until it breaks, and when it breaks, blame the replicator sort of thing. And it's like with the AI there, does that mean that all of those like Men of Steel from back in the day, like with the when the Horus Heresy was kicking about, does that mean that they would be like, these guys are actually all right, we like them?
Well, Jules, I just want to point out that you've just mashed thousands of years together that weren't together.
I have indeed. That's how I play, though. I want all of my lore easily digestible and with no strings whatsoever, which I'm sure that you can easily summarize for us now.
Yes, I will. So it's the Men of Iron, not the Men of Steel. You're thinking of the Brotherhood of Steel from Fallout, which are great,
the best.
Yeah, I love them in game. They were pretty good in that TV show. Yes, they would probably get on very well with the Men of Iron, because the Men of Iron were more AI than, say, like a Servitor or any of the other cogitators that you see more in the 40k universe. And you never know, they might actually bring that into the lore. I wouldn't be surprised if some of the AI ran to the Galactic Core, which is where the Votann live, and it would make a lot of sense for them to go, oh, hey, you're a pretty smart robot. Fancy being our new god?
Because,
all right.
Weirdly enough, they actually get a mention, the Votann, in Lair of the Beast. Because the UR-25, the man of iron who is just like the best
Salt gun.
Yeah, the best way is that Gary painted him up, and obviously he died dramatically and very, very quickly. But I was reading the lore about him, and it's like he knows he's self-aware, so he's a self-aware AI, and he wants to just live his days in peace and just like get a bit of glory, get a bit of like scrap to keep himself going. But what's funny is that he plays dumb when he's around other people who don't trust AI. He pretends to be just a mindless slave, like an automaton. But apparently some of the Votann that he's encountered across the time have just been like, there's something a bit fishy about you, mate. We'll trade with you. Just let us know what your schematics are, basically.
Yeah. Oh, no, of course. Again, they're really, really open. Like, it was good reading the books about them because I guess spoilers ahead, but there is a bit while they do interact with the Imperium, and basically they just turn up at the Imperium ship with a load of beer and say, let's get pissed and have a chat. And it just made me love... Yeah, I love them so much more than I ever could have before, because they deal with their life problems in the same way that I do, through the medium of getting drunk. And it's fantastic, and like they have a lovely little conversation until the conversation about AI and the Emperor being a god comes up, and obviously the dwarves are a bit tongue-in-cheek about the concept of worshipping a corpse. And
while they themselves worship a machine.
Yeah, but at least the machine's alive and like is able to interact with them, and it doesn't just require feeding corpses, feeding psychers too.
This is very true. But how did you rate the book then? In the end, do you think it was worth a read?
Definitely worth a read. I don't know if I liked the narrator a lot. I thought she was good, but not incredible. Like, I think Jonathan Keeble would have done a better job. And there's a few other narrators I prefer. But she had a wide array of northern accents, which I quite appreciated. So I am looking forward to hearing her do some more books.
I mean, to be
and
fair,
that's a nice thing about the Votann as well. They're a bit more well, they're less sexist. So
Okay.
there's a lot of good female characters in it, unlike in the with the Imperium, where it's like you can be an Imperial guard or a nutter nun who loves the Emperor, and they are your options.
Yeah.
There's no like leaders really that you hear about within the Imperium, unless you go to the High Lords of Terror that are women that are high level. Whereas with the Votann, it's like everybody's equal, including the robot pals. So yeah, much prefer them as an entity to the Imperium.
I mean, I think you've got to ask a lot of questions about the because it's Morden Val, isn't it? Who's one of the
High Lords of Terror.
Yeah, High Lords of Terror, and it's a case of oh, we've just had a question from Sean Schultz, who has just re-upped their membership, by the way.
Yeah, cheers, man. That's awesome.
Sean Schultz. Now, Beanie can't hear us, but I think definitely by the music of Petrol Horse right there, because for some reason the alerts come in at full volume, no matter how much I turn them down. So that deafened me right there. But he's asking the question, how did the tournament go? So why don't you start with your regaling of the tournament for King of the North, and then I'll go after that.
Okay, so the tournament actually went really well for me in terms of like where I placed. I had 3 really good matches. The first guy I played ended up taking the wooden spoon, and I felt a little bit bad because the board that we were on didn't quite have enough terrain to suit an Eldar player, i.e. any. So he had no way to hide from my horrible Votann guns. So within the first turn, I had cleared like over half of his units off the board.
It's a very feel
which was
moment, isn't it? Where you're like, oh, I love the fact that my mummy's doing well, but at the same time, sorry, bro.
Oh yeah, I felt like a complete jerk. But the guy was a really, really good sport about it, and he was playing Morgan Ra, the Phoenix Lord of the of the Dark Reapers. And because that person has the title of Harvester of Souls, we insisted that you had to say it after every time you mentioned their name until we shortened it down to HOS. So that was a lot of fun. So what's he going to do? Harvester of Souls. Did you know he's the Harvester of Souls? You had mentioned it. So first game, really good. I scored basically perfectly in it.
Yeah.
Second game was a much tighter game. I went up against a Halo-themed guard army, which was incredibly cool. Loads of legend units. Yeah, the guy took the point of King of the North properly and brought loads of legends units. Nice chap. He did witness me nearly choke to death eating pork scratchings whilst laughing. Moral of the story, don't eat pork scratchings whilst laughing is the key.
Yes, keep your snacks and your mockery separate. Church and state, mate.
Yeah, very much so. Won that game, but it was much closer. And then my third game, I went up against an Old Hammer Eldar army. It was great. And I absolutely trounced him, and it was delicious because there was basically non-stop complaining about it. So I went away with 3 solid victories, and I came 4th.
You did indeed, my man. It was a very good place in there, and an excellent selection of matches. And do you know what, Bean? I tasted it. I tasted victory. I believed in myself just that little bit, and I thought that I could have pulled it out of the bag, because in my first 2 games, I absolutely walked through them. I walked through Mordian John, who was running Cadian, so he was Cadian John that weekend, and that was a very tough battle for me because I don't have anti-tank, even though I was running the Death Guard. But what I did have was guys that just refused to die in an objective-based game, and I'm not gonna lie, the luckiest rolls I've ever seen. He fired every hunter-killer missile that he could in his first turn at me, and there was probably about 8 of them whizzing about in the air. They all managed to find their target, and because they're strength 14, they were wounding me on 2s. But who came up clutch with the 6s for the saves more often than not? I was a bit like, ooh, sorry about that. There's literally nothing you can do about that.
The having to apologise for rolling well is the most awkward part of any tournament because you're all there to win.
Yeah, it was the moment when I rolled trip sixes and they were all sixes to save that I was like, I'm sorry, man. And he goes, if I didn't witness it myself, I wouldn't have believed it. And I was like, sorry, dude. And then that predator that didn't die went on to annihilate his tank commander, like his actual leader, in the next round, because it managed to hit with not only the Soul Shatter las cannon but the 2 sponsored ones as well, and I rolled something like 5-4-5 and I was like, I'm so sorry, dude. Yeah, so that was yeah, it was one of those things where it was like a bit of feel badsies, but we had a great laugh. And then the second match was against basically mirror matching what you had, which is somebody who really took the Legends part of the tournament to heart and was running an Orc list with the Grot tanks that I ran the year before. So it was basically fighting a list that I was super familiar with and really enjoyable because of the fact I was like, it's actually nice to play against something that I use quite a lot. But I would say that did give me a bit of an advantage because I knew exactly what he was doing and therefore was trying to... I could play against it quite efficiently. So he didn't kill a single unit, unfortunately. He got a rhino down to 1 wound, and the rhino refused to die. So it wedged itself in the middle between 2 ruins, so he couldn't drive past me, and he just kept on ramming into it, and he kept on spending his 1 CP on anything but tank shock, but kept on telling me, I'm going to save that CP for tank shot and I'm going to finish it off next round. And I was like, yeah, fair enough, man, that is absolutely fair, and you should get rid of it to get onto the point. And then he just never did it, and unfortunately all of the objectives that he wanted to score on kept on disappearing because it was one of those mission types where they disappeared each round. And then that screwed me a few times in that mission, because it really forces you to be like, oh well, am I lucky and do I have the movement to get onto the now remaining objectives? And then unfortunately, because I tasted victory and come out of it with 2 very good scores, I was on the top table against Nick, wasn't it?
Yeah, you were.
And unfortunately, I had my absolute trousers pulled down, I had my body spanked, and there was absolutely nothing I could do about it. The terrain meant that there was nowhere for my guys to hide behind, and the objective of the mission was count up how many points you've destroyed at the end of the mission, and count up how many of your surviving units are left up in terms of points value, and you get victory points based on what's left or has been killed. Now, the problem was he was running a full Space Marine tank army list, so he just sat at the back, told me that he was not going to move, and spent 3 turns just shooting my entire army off the board before I could even get close. And I was just like, absolutely fair play. And he kept on.
He was playing Ironstorm, wasn't he?
He was indeed, and he was like, listen, man, if there was any objectives in this game, I would have lost because you just can gum up the mid board so much better than I can, and I'd had to have come towards you. And I just did not get the rolls I needed. I was hoping that maybe I would get something off of Typhus coming out of Deep Strike and getting his Death Shroud bodyguard into the mix. But unfortunately...
Oh, and his psychic attack.
Yeah, the psychic attack did actually prove quite useful. I managed to get 2 of the D3 plus 3 mortal wounds out against his Brutalis, I think it was. The one with the big claws.
Brutalis is the claw, yeah.
Yeah, and it was just killing the Redemptor. In an army with only really damage 2 weapons, fighting against something that reduces the incoming damage by 1, it just meant that there was nothing really strong enough to punch through and do the damage. And because he was
you needed your soul shatters, didn't you?
Yeah, and he'd taken them out a long time ago. And then unfortunately, because of the fact that it was he was next to a Tech Marine, he kept on healing him. And then I was just like, I just can't bloody kill the fucking thing. But it was a great match though. And I think that...
And we had a lovely drink with him afterwards, didn't we? We ended up until like 2 in the morning drinking at a 90-year-old's birthday party.
That was crazy.
It was very strange. It was good.
I really appreciated actually playing against him because you know what it's like at the end of a tournament. You've done 2 big matches and then you're just a bit like, third match for supper? No thanks, I'm full. And so having a game against somebody who, like, knew was nice, because it was just like, oh, okay, cool, I can relax a little bit, and yeah, I'm getting stomped in, but it doesn't feel as bad as if it was like a stranger. Because, you know, let's face it, we all get a bit hangry, we all get a bit tired, and tempers do tend to flare a little bit more when those situations are there, and like you say, everyone is playing to win at that point. But when it was him, it was just like, fine, absolutely fine, it's okay.
My final game was a bit more business, you know, just get it done. And like, it was good enough. It was a good game, because I really like some of the old Hammer Eldar units, but it was the same situation. There wasn't enough terrain for him to be able to have what I felt was a fair game. Like, he could hide, but it would completely mean the second that he came out of hiding that it was just in a shooting gallery. And I was able to completely take advantage of this, and just second he popped his little pointy ears out, I just destroyed them with my endless bullets. And, you know,
what was a bit of a shame, though, was that we played... there he is, Mike's there. Ginger's have no soul shoes. There he is. And the king in the north is gracing us with his presence. Mike went on to win that, and it was a...
No, it's Nick that won this.
Oh no, yeah, sorry, I got confused then. It was Nick won, and it was a very well fought victory for him in terms of his other games as well. He actually won his second game by pure luck and happenstance, because of the fact that the disappearing objectives just happened to all disappear from his opponent's side of the board, and it was just like, that is so lucky.
Yeah, no, because like, I got completely and utterly ruined by that. That the two of the objectives that went like immediately was my one in the second turn, and then like the middle objective.
Yeah.
Oh no, it was both of the corner ones for me went. It was like, I can't win this. How am I gonna ever score enough? But it was at the end. I basically gummed up the works, and the judgment tokens were just rude, man. Like, being
real good.
Well, here's the scene for everybody. I went up against a unit of 26 guardsmen with my Hearthguard, who all have blast weaponry. It was 5d6 plus 30 shots, and so. Yeah, the unit in total did 78 shots when you put the Volkite in as well. Yeah, nothing lived after that little number.
And if it did, it did not live well.
No, it was the fact that it also had two of his characters in that unit as well. No, it was just like, bye.
See you later, pal.
Yeah, Hammerlot, he was a fun opponent, and he took that absolute drubbing of his main command squad with all the grace that anybody could. The fact that he didn't just throw like heavy blocks of resin at my head and call me a tart says a lot for his character as a nice guy.
Well, it's interesting as well, because he was officially the second to last ever last place winner/loser. Because it turns out that next year is going to be the last King of the North that they do. So, by the way, I just want to catch up to the chat here, by the way. Yes, it is the High Carl's Oath. That is the name of the book. Hello, Chewy, by the way. Good to see you, mate. And
hey, Chewy.
Hello, Christoph, and hello, Stefan, as well. Yes, so it's going to be the last ever King of the North next year. So Beanie and I are both playing for first and last place, basically. We're going to go in there and do the best or worst we possibly can do to come out with a tagline of some form or another, because if you can't win, well, you might as well be the last loser, right? The King of North. Go down in history.
And the prize that you get for coming last, it was amazing.
They gave away a whole box of scenery that we actually use on the channel. It's the Chem Lab one. It's where the goo factory that populates a bit of Brobnar always it comes from, and you get that plus loads of extra walls and bits and bobs, and it actually is a very expensive bit of kit, and it's just like, bloody hell, like, that's pretty good. But then again, if you go through all of that pain and suffering, it feels like a just prize, you know? Because
mate, before, his list
Jill
was lush.
And she got a full, I think it was the Knights Christmas box set, so it was 2 Knights and 2 Armigers, and I was like, bloody hell, that's a full army, man.
Yeah, that was an amazing prize. And in fairness to the guy who got the wooden spoon, he got some absolutely lovely models on the table. Like his army was painted to such a beautiful standard. It's just the fact that they were so flimsy, and it was like, ha ha, pop. Ha ha.
Do you know what's funny though, isn't it? It just shows how the state of the game changes so frequently within Warhammer, because you took that list or something similar to it this time year before, and you would have probably been one of the top ranked players, because Eldar were not only dominating the meta, they were fully bending it over their knee and breaking it to the point where it actively wasn't that fun to fight against them. But
well, no, 75% win rate is not delicious.
Honestly, that's it. For that to ever happen, it seems like so long ago that you just think, like, no, that can't really have been true, can it? And now it's just like, oh, actually, yeah, it was, and it didn't get changed for a long time.
Well, in terms of game balance, 10th edition is the best edition they've ever done.
Yes.
And there's like actually no contest here. Nothing has ever been so many armies between 45 and 55% like win rates in competitive. Because, you know, obviously I haven't done the numbers myself. I just watch Auspex Tactics rattle them out for me. That magnificent dastard. Like, I love them. But never... like this 9th edition, it was just power creep, misery. That was really pretty much the game.
Yeah, that was a tough ride. I feel like we were on that lovely but also kind of disgusting thing where, because we were on the Warhammer influencer program, it meant that we would get the new models and stuff sent in advance, so we could be like, oh yeah, cool, we can stay ahead and make sure that we have a defense against these new horrors that are coming out. But for an average player playing 9th edition, it must have been a bloody rough time. Nowadays, because of the amount of detachments that come out and different ways to play each individual army, there's still, you've pretty much got guaranteed to have a good-ish army no matter which one you run now, apart from maybe Sisters, who are in the toilet a little bit at the moment. But yeah, I'm sure that they'll get a little fix and it will be fine soon, right? Oh, and, is Beanie's thing frozen? Oh, I can see it moving, but I can't hear him. Oh. He's doing something, but I cannot hear him. I can see him waggling a model around. No,
can you hear me now?
Yes, I can hear you now.
Oh, that was weird. Sorry, I was having a drink of my beer and I muted myself so you didn't have to hear the sound of me guzzling. And then it decided that it didn't want to come back on. Obviously, if people want to hear the sounds of me guzzling, that's completely fine. And I will, and Sean, I will always...
I've told you to charge for that, mate. You charge. If people want to see you guzzling, you charge for it.
Yeah, well, you know, so I need to pay for this roof repair somehow.
Yeah, exactly.
We all do things we're not proud of all the time. But yes, to Sean, I will always use the grudgement mechanic because it is delicious and it upsets almost everyone that comes up against it.
The only thing that I would say has been quite disappointing about 10th has been the inconsistency of those Christmas attachments that came out, because it was a really good idea to be able to provide fun narrative and maybe even competitive ways to play different armies in different ways. And I feel like the people that needed it the most, namely the Sisters, Votann, and Gene Stealer Cult, they got just kind of really shite ones, really, didn't they?
Yeah, well, the half... I could speak extensively about how bad the half band one is, because okay, it is absolutely amazing to say you can have a -1 AP on all of your guns on your best unit. That is awesome. Yep. But turning down the ability to get 3 CP basically for free, like, how could you ever turn that down? It's like, in every game in that tournament, I ended the game with at least 2 CP left over, kind of thing, because I had so much, and it wasn't like I was conserving, I was spending like a lunatic.
Yeah.
And the other one, the Sisters one, it's just with the change to how they've done the mechanics for Miracle Dice, you don't have the points to give them. They're like, what's it called? Like some kind of spiritual words that I can't remember, and they get way better.
Yeah.
I'm just going to say blessed. I know it isn't
yeah,
blessed, but it's something like that. And they get to be amazing, and they get extra movement, better leadership, attack, blah, blah, blah. But unless you've got like a bounty of miracle dice, you are going to save them for that 6 on a melter.
Yeah.
Or pass that save when it's going to be a damaged 12 guns into the face kind of thing. And it just, you're right, it was disappointing. And then on the flip side, you have the orcs with the tactical brigade, which is just like, oh my lord, that is so strong.
I wouldn't be surprised.
And cool.
I wouldn't be surprised if that gets like a nerf in some form or another. Although, there has been a recent balanced data slate, hasn't there? Like
a mini one, yeah.
Yeah, and so they could have addressed the points changes or to do some enhancement things there. But the fact is, they still have not fixed. Maybe it wasn't. Maybe it's the bug is intentional, but the ability to take a Squigosaur boss, boss on Squigosaur with your unit of commandos and infiltrate the entire thing and charge turn 1, and he gets a +1 to his charge. So that means that even if you don't move and you're 9 inches away, that's still an 8-inch charge rerollable. It's just crazy.
Yes, it's fantastically gross. Yeah. Well, at the end of the day, orcs have two really strong detachments.
Yes.
They've got the mob of boys detachment, and then they've got the green tide, and they've got the tactical one. The buggy one is upsettingly bad.
Yeah,
especially with how cool buggies are.
Yeah, I really wish that we could get them to work, because every time I do like a list building thing, think, oh, maybe I'll just chuck him in there. I look at it and just go, what a waste of points it would be to take any buggy whatsoever, because the minimum cost for them is 80 points. And I know it doesn't sound like much, but when you consider what you can get in other armies for that same amount, it just makes no sense. You could take an Iron-Haired champion and still have change for that, you know?
Yeah, you can get, well, for 85 points, you could have the Iron-Haired champion and have him get up from death.
And what can I do? I can drive around with no invulnerable save and get destroyed turn 1. It's just, it doesn't seem to equate, that one there. When the rest of the orcs are so well priced for what they are or do, they just seem to stick out like a sore thumb. But the problem is, I do not want them to do, like, to turn it into a horde buggy list and be like, okay, cool, they're now 50 points apiece, because I don't want to run more of them. You know what I mean? It feels like there's a fundamental issue with the data, the actual abilities and survivability of the buggy itself. They just need to be reworked in some form.
Well, I was thinking about this the other day, and maybe what they could do is they could change the rules of the buggy thing to add a ability to the detachment, you know, like burstling smoke, or like, and give them like a -1 to hit any buggies, because there's so many of them on the thing that is basically just a cloud of pollution around them. Yeah. And that would increase their survivability by, depending on whether, if it's a damp hitting on 4 units or a hitting on 3 units, a little bit different, but somewhere between, I think it's like 13 and like 26% difference in the survivability rates you're going to get on being hit then. Yeah. And that would get around, not having an invulnerable save. Yeah. Because even custodies are hitting on 3s kind of thing versus... And it feels a little bit thematic. It wouldn't be overpowered. It would just be they're less shit.
Well, I remember that they had it absolutely bang on at the end of 9th edition when they released the Armies of Renown detachment that was for the adrenaline junkies, and that was...
Oh, I remember that.
As long as you have advanced, your weapons gain assault and you get a 6-up invulnerable save. Or maybe it goes to a 5-up invulnerable save.
It was a 5-up,
if you've advanced. And I'm like, perfect, because that still means I can't advance and charge, but it does mean that I'm rewarded now for speeding around like a lunatic, because I actually get a bit of defense out of it, and I can shoot all my guns, which again is a problem if you... Well, what you can't really do at the moment, because nowadays you just drive up and go, well, hope that I survive to turn 2 so I can get into range of all my short missiles and stuff like that. But hey,
actually, get to do their razzmatazz. It's pretty good. It's actually quite fun.
To be fair, though, it's a small complaint. I'm very happy with where orcs are at the moment. They have a very fun codex. I have enough troops now to run pretty much every detachment there. apart from the green tie, but I am in no way rushing out to paint 100 or so boys. I'm just the thought of that. I mean, look at this. I'm painting 10 Stormboyz at the moment, and even just doing one layer on their skin has taken me this entire stream so far, and I'm just like, oh my god. And these Stormboyz,
whereas I've nearly finished the red on these.
They've got so much bits on them, and these are like old sculpt models as well, so these have actually less bits than most GW normal stuff does. I mean, you and Wilson have been doing the Krieg, haven't you? And it's just the amount of stuff, bits and bobbins that they have.
Oh, it's my lord. It is upsetting how many there are. Yeah. Like, the next thing I want to paint just for fun will be an armiger.
Oh, that would be cool.
Like, yeah, because we've got to make the Guardians of the One Tree of Brobnar.
Oh yes.
So
are you going to
they
sponging for them because I've seen loads of tutorials now using sponges for armigers because of the bigger like armor plates, and it just seems that you could do it in like an afternoon, like.
No, I'm not.
You're going to go full painful, are you?
So what I'm gonna do is so I've done them in a brown primer. Then I'm going to do some dry brushing with purples and reds over the panels. Then spray a green ink over the top of it to get a mottled effect, and maybe use the sponge to put that part of it on. But I want to do a consistent green ink over the top, and then I'm going to do the metal work in a coppery brass, so they kind of look like trees. So they can hide behind the One Tree of Brobnar and go, aha! We are in fact not trees. You should have counted there as 3 of us and not just 1, as the name implies.
We could then.
And that's how that would go.
We could use that as a rule. If they're standing next to the One Tree of Brobnar, whenever an enemy tries to shoot at them, roll a d6, and on a 4-up they gain the lone operative style thing, because it's like they are confusing them for trees.
Yeah, they're so well camouflaged.
Oh, Hassan, what a great model it is, though. The new Big Mech with his massive tractor beam and stuff. It's one of my favourite looking Orc models that they've done in a long time. But
is that Mr. Gunarm?
Yeah, like with his big tractor beam, and you can build him with like a rocket drill and stuff like that as well. And I'm just like, it's really cool. Unfortunately, he just doesn't fit with any of the army themes that I've got, and I've got a cheaper, older, regular mech boy who I just find that for the points he just does it exactly what I need him to do, whereas the big mech is just like, that is a cool model that I would like to own.
And it only came in the battle box, didn't it? And it's not, and we didn't get our hands on it.
Yeah, it's finally been released, but I did not get my hands on that one there. Curse you, GW, you send us so many free bits and bobs, but that was the one bit that you did, and I was like, I have no right to be this angry considering what stuff we've been sent over the years. But still, I will cross my arms and go harumph.
I agree. I think you should complain to the manager.
Excuse me, please give us more free stuff. And then they'd be like, fine, whatever. But yeah, I will get it eventually, but it's down my priorities. It would be one of those models that I would just have a lot of fun painting. And
hang on, what? You can have fun while painting?
Oh man, what
are you talking about?
I know, I do swing wildly between the two. I sometimes think that painting is the least fun aspect of this hobby, and then sometimes when the mood is absolutely right, I'll just sit down and start painting and be like, bloody hell, this is very relaxing and enjoyable. But I
think the problem is because we have so many projects on, that sometimes it feels like a chore.
Yeah, I mean, like after this, I was telling you guys that I picked up the Vampire Blood Bowl team, and just because I want to run something that's a bit different, it's a bit like they're strong, they're good, but they can be mad. You know that I love my
positive, negative.
Yeah, I love any team or any faction that can have huge buffs and then huge debuffs to go alongside it. And so I was like, yeah, cool, this would be great. And then I was looking at the paint scheme for them, and I was like, this is completely different to how I normally paint anything, so yeah, this will be quite fun. And I've just been dreading it ever since, and I don't know why. I just need to sit down and put bloody paint on. I think it's just because, like, orcs, I've done them so much, it's almost like automatic.
Rote.
Yeah, it's automatic at this point, and I feel But that is my comfort zone. I can just go, cool, pick up a box of orcs, done. The only problem is...
Oh no, I understand that feeling. Hey, is that an Imperial Fist head on the base?
It may or may not be.
You are such a tart.
Every time that there's a dead space marine, it has to be Imperial Fists.
Yeah, they are the whipping boys of the 41st millennium. It's like, right, so if we kill off the Imperial Fist, then we could send the Ultramarines in and everyone can go, yay, go, yay! And that'll be that. Well done.
They do seem to have the unfortunate thing of, like, because they were positive, like, we can defend anything and we're really good at shooting and siege stuff, it's like, they are now set as the precedent for, bloody hell, even the Imperial Fists failed here, how can we possibly win? And it's like, oh, don't give me an ability only to use it as a weakness.
Yeah, no, it's just lazy writing, and just because they want the poster boys to always be the winner.
Yeah.
It's the way, and I get it. I totally do get it, and as you know, I'm a huge Ultramarines fan as well as the Imperial Fist fan, but it's because they did their styling to be so similar. It's like, let's kill the yellow ones so the blue ones can look even better.
What I wonder is, like, do we know exactly when the Ultramarines became the sort of poster boy for them? Like, what? Just imagine a different universe. Imagine a Marvel what-if timeline if they were just looking at the two things of an Imperial Fist and an Ultramarine, and they were just like, yeah, the blue one looks rubbish, actually. Let's go with the yellow.
That's the problem. The cerulean style blue is just so lovely.
Hard to deny.
It is such a gorgeous scheme. Whereas bright yellow is quite polarizing. Like, I love it. Yeah. I love the fact that their lore behind it is they want to give their enemies a chance. You know, just superb. But yeah, you can't deny how lush that blue is.
It is. Very nice.
Yes, it's like, could you ever imagine them choosing the Iron Hands as the poster boys? It's like, they're boring, and they just wear black armor, and they complain all the time that they weren't born with metal hands.
Curse these regular hands.
Yeah, exactly. It's like, oh, brilliant. Here comes Captain Monotone, ready to drone at me about why his lord was better than my lord. It's like, well, if he was so great, how come he's dead? Fulgrim owned him. Oh, spoilers, by the way, for the Horus Heresy. Soz, like.
Speaking of Fulgrim, oh me meow! Every time I go back to that community article and take a look at those Emperor's Children models and Big Snake Boy, I'm just like, oh my god! I believe I am dribbling.
Yeah, I can't wait to see what you do with them.
Oh, sorry to interrupt. Carry on.
No, I was just going to say I think you're going to do a really good job with them, but please, continue.
Well, I was just going to say that, did you watch the recent Auspex Tactics video on the potential leaks for them?
No, I saw it come up today, but work was very, very busy today, so it was one of those days where I couldn't have anything on in the background because I really had to concentrate.
Like, I take it with a pinch of salt because of the fact that, you know, I have no idea whether or not these are true or not, but from what they sound like they're doing, some really weird choices. Like, according to Auspex, they say that they're taking away bloody Predators and Hellbrutes. They don't have Dreadnoughts. And I was like, interesting? Okay. Probably means that will be the one 140k army that doesn't have anti-tank, and I was like, that doesn't feel good in a meta that is so vehicular based. But the one thing that I did like the sound of, which again, if it is true, is just big banteroonies. You know those what are they called again? The Bliss Blades or whatever they're called. They're sort of like a version of Chosen, or
they're Blade Guard. Yeah,
they're like big dudes that run in a group of 3 apparently. Now they're saying that they have anti-infantry, anti-monster, anti-everything on a 3-up, but not devastating wounds. So they can wound everything, but everything will get a save. And I was like, I kind of really like that.
That does sound pretty good.
Give your opponent a chance, but at the same time, oh boy, every single strike that they do gonna hit home. Like, So
Yeah.
I'm hoping that we get more sort of flavourful things like this, because the worst thing is when a new army comes out that you're excited for, I don't want them to be overpowered. I don't want to be the person that's like, oh, I'm running up as children, and people roll their eyes and just go, oh yeah, I see, you jumped on the bandwagon with that one then. I just want them to just be a nice in-the-middle mixer, you know?
Yeah, the problem is that never, ever happens, so they are going to be overpowered.
Yeah.
Lucius the Eternal is going to have, like, an ability, I don't know, flick the whip, and that's going to be his euphemism.
Yeah.
And it's going to just be, like, D6 plus 9 damage to anything that he at all fancies. It's like, great. So pleased about this.
Hey man, as long as they keep his ability from the current index they've got, where if you kill him, he does some mortal wounds to you, and if you die from that, he comes back alive. I'm like, yes, let's do that. Let's just get a string of lucky rolls and just keep him going.
Is my response to that. Although, again, like, you've not read much in the way of the lore, but like some of the books where about Lucius and like the person like being proud of the kill, and he's there celebrating with his mates. It's kind of like he's burping and hiccuping, going, "Oh, I feel something really, really funny in my
tum-tum.
Oh, I feel a bit terrible." And then like he'll go to bed, and then he'll wake up with like half a face coming out of his own face. It's like, "Oh, you're having a shit day now, aren't you, son? Oh, that's a baddie."
The question though is, like, if that happened to, say you killed him and then you took pride in killing him, and then you know that he's going to take over your body, if you yourself got shot and killed immediately, would that finally end that? Or would it be like even the moment that you are feeling pride that you could then pass it on to someone else?
So what I think would happen then is that the person would then feel pride in the fact that they killed the person that killed Lucius, and the pride would bounce, is how I would kind of view it.
So basically,
so the only way to do it is get a robot to kill him. You need a Necron warrior, club him over the head with like their discarded leg and go, "Oh, that's one bastard dead. Done with that," and off they go on their merry robotic way. And I don't think he would come back. But,
there we go.
You know, he does solve the problem.
Solve the Lucius the Eternal quandary. Hello, Callum, by the way. Good to see you, my friend. Yeah, I'm here with Beanie, and we're having a nice little paint and chill, which is going to be very good. Emperor's Children will just show weird love instead of Preds and Yeah, that's true, yeah. And Stefan says, so not launch Votann. Oh, he's got you there, Bean, because when Votann launched, and they had their... what was
they were gross.
They were like, I remember reading them and just being like, I'm sorry, they ignore all invulnerables pretty much, and the grudgment tokens were so much more.
Hang on now, that was only the magma gun, and okay, it was like 12 damage, and it was like, I'm no invulnerable for you, buddy.
It was just, I remember just like coming up against it again and again and being like, I'm sorry, what? What?
Oh, it was absolute madness how strong the Votann were in that first iteration. And, you know, people are still reeling over that. They're nowhere near as strong as they used to be.
Not at all. They've really reined them back in and kind of changed the entire composition of the army as well. Because of all of the points decreases across the board, it meant that you were running a hyper elite army that felt as close to like Custodes as you could at that point, and now you're just kind of like, well, you're fielding more units and models than most Space Marine armies are nowadays.
Yeah, it's kind of annoying because after 9th edition I had about 2,500 points painted, and then in 10th edition it's like, and it's about 1,000 points now. And thank you for that, GW.
And because there wasn't the...
I say that glibly, because they did send me nearly every single Votann model I own. I only, like, actually bought one combat patrol on top of what I've been sent, so I'm going to shut my complaining mouth up, really.
The problem with it, though, is that when they did that big shift and it changed the composition of the army, they did it without supplementing it with more models, so that meant that you were just like, oh, I do just have to buy more of the same 6 units that I've got on offer.
Exactly.
And that always feels a little bit bad because you're like, oh, I just know that there's going to be more coming out soon and it's going to change again.
Well, yeah, like in total, I think built I've got 40 or 50 Hearthkin now.
Get out. Actually?
Yeah, got 40 at least built, and I think there's another 10 on sprues somewhere in the mystery pile in the house.
That's gross.
I know, lush, innit? And I've got another 5 berserks, and I've got the Brocknir Thunderkin.
Oh, yes. Yeah.
And 1 more Carl. And then after that, I think I actually am out of Votann to paint in its entirety, which would be incredible, because that's the first time I'd ever be able to say that about any faction.
But it'd be so funny because that would be probably like the week before they release the next wave, and you'd be like, look at all this Votann I've painted, and I never have to paint. Oh, no. Wave 2 has released 16 new units. Like,
Oh, I'm so excited for it, though. Like, to be fair, the only Votann unit No, in fact, there isn't a single Votann unit I haven't enjoyed painting. I think they're great models, and they're dwarfs, so I'm willing to suffer for them.
Well, because of their sort of StarCraftian inspiration, they've got like the big, thick, chunky armor panels, which make them more satisfying to paint. They've got like, even though they're small, they've got very clearly defined shapes, and no sort of like crazy Eldar weepy warpy stuff that breaks and bends just by looking at it. They're just very stout,
sturdy.
And, they're sturdy models, and that is a lovely thing. It's why I love painting orcs. The muscles, the musculature is just so defined on these models that you just go, big flat surfaces, effectively.
Slabs of model.
Yeah, big slabs of meat, mate. Big slabs. Oh, speaking of
slabs,
how many Buldrin and Ogrin are you going to get Richie to print you out so that you can run
at least 3 of each?
Yeah.
Because I primed them the other day.
Oh, nice. Oh, that's cool. Because can you run them? They are formed as part of the Astra Militarum range, aren't they?
They are indeed, and basically running them as a unit of 5 as an infiltration unit is actually a really good idea. Like their firepower is, you're not going to be writing letters of their glory to anyone, but them just getting in the way, spoiling people's charges, stuff like that, they're just great. And the models are beautiful.
Have you did you make them as one of every operative, like from the?
Oh, of course I did.
Yeah. Did you give the your captain the little? Is it a sausage or a hamburger or some sort of like weird thing? A cup of coffee or something that you can give him?
Every single model that could be holding a cup of tea is holding a cup of tea in my faction. It's like gun or cup of tea, and that was the level of my deciding. And to Callum's point, I am Welsh, very, very Welsh. So that is why I sound Welsh.
It's incredibly Welsh. But yeah, I'm like, apart from the next big release being. So what are we looking down the barrel at then? So we've got
it's all 4 of the chaos. It's all the four chaos gods, isn't it?
Yes, yeah. So we've got the Death Guard have had their 1 model teased, which is that new sort of like guy with a giant rusty plague sword on his back, and I'm really interested to see what role that's going to fill, because when you look at the army nowadays, I'm just kind of like, what does it actually need? Because you've got the heavy hitting war machines, you've got the incredible close combat units in the Blight Lord and Death Shroud Terminators. The Plague Marines, as we have discussed, are just the best battle line troops going at the moment, possibly outside of Gretchen, because of the fact that 40 points getting a free CP is an absolute game changer. Like, what do they need?
I agree.
What do they need? Like, what can this guy do that other things can't already do?
I guess the way to look at that. Well, just look at it in the same way as Space Marines. Is there any reason why they have 5 units that can all do the same thing?
Yeah, I mean,
but we want them.
Yeah, I mean, it looks like an incredibly cool model as well, with his like sort of big weeping turbines on his back, and then the huge plague greatsword that he's wielding, strapped to his.
I think he's going to have an ability to spread plague.
It would be nice if it was like if he was a designated character killer, kind of like the Judicar from the Space.
Yeah, Judicia or the Master of Executions.
Yes, yeah, that would be fun.
Or the Emperor's Champion. You know, there's a lot of examples of them using characters like that, and I think it would be actually fantastic for you guys to have something similar to that.
Oh, speaking of Black Templars for the Emperor's Champion, I would love to run them against your Dark Angels sometime soon. See how they get on against them. That'd be fun.
Yeah, no, I'd be keen, especially seeing as
you're playing Rapid this Thursday, aren't you? With and he's taking on the Dark Angels, correct?
Yes. So we're doing Blood Angels versus Dark Angels. Just a bit of a punch up. So Doug recently painted up Bilal for me, so I'm going to be running him with 5 Deathwing Knights as his bodyguard.
Oh, nice.
And the Lion.
Oh,
so it is the most hyper elite army I could possibly make. For 1,500 points, I have so few models on the table.
So
it's going to be amazing.
Is the chapter master of the Dark
No.
Angels? No, he's not. Who is he?
No. So Azrael is the chapter master of the Dark Angels.
Right.
So he is the master of the Deathwing. So anyone who's wearing bone-coloured armour, he's involved because he loves bones. Oh, right. He's actually rubbish in terms of like what he can do.
Really?
If we were to say like as an actual good character for 10th edition, he is not very good. He's all about precision, and as we know, precision doesn't come up a lot. Really, it's not a reliable ability.
It
but
always sounds so good on paper, but usually by the time you get there, they've usually killed all of the people anyway, so the precision attacks just go straight onto the character you were probably going to aim at. Or it makes more sense to kill the huge amount of bodyguards they have first before you get all of the attacks back on you.
Yeah, exactly. But you know what? With his swords of some boring name, Silence, I'm going to say it is. He will do 6 attacks, strength 6, -2 damage. It can chop through a fair few boys. He's tough as old boots. And he has an ability that if you do wounds to him on a 4-up, he can knock back a mortal wound at the person on a 4-up, and it's like that's pretty cool. And
spiteful. I love that.
I know if I can pump up the gem, like I can really knock back some serious mortal wounds. And poor old Rapid doesn't get a lot of luck with the old Blood Angels.
Yeah.
So I kind of envision killing Dante with incidental mortal wounds, and that would be truly delicious, especially after what happened in that battle royale we did, and
I love
me shooting him in the face with a tank commander.
Turn 1, Dante moves forward. Turn 2, Dante fails all of his saves and gets shot to death by the Demolisher or Punisher cannon from your captain. And it was like, that's the end of him then.
Oh, that was so funny.
Because I think we all stood there in stunned silence of just like, that shouldn't have happened. But it did, and it happened so easily as well that it was like, right, oh, okay, cool.
It was, especially the fact that it was Mr. Tank Commander No Name versus Dante, lived for 1,000 years, fought in Baal, did them,
This was before your tank commander could give orders to himself, wasn't it? So it was basically you were just shooting on his base ballistic skill of.
Oh yeah, it was 4-ups.
4-up. Yeah, and it was just like, just happened to hit loads and just wounded him, and he's dead. 4-up invulnerable save did not help you in the slightest, my friend. Yeah, funny.
Yeah, Rapid died a little. Yeah, he died a little inside when that happened. But if I remember rightly, he did ultimately win.
Oh yeah, because
the battle royale that day.
We then proceeded to do the thing that we always do, which is we just go like, well, I'm going to not target you now because I feel bad, and now we're going to have 3 rounds of slogging the piss out of each other, and that just left with us with nothing. And he just goes, well, I guess I'll just mop up then, lads. And we're like, no, that wasn't meant to happen.
Yeah, we've got to stop letting him cheek us in this way with his making his sad face at us, and we're like, oh, we'll give you a break, and then he comes in, ha ha, charade you are. Yeah.
Amazing. So we've got Emperor's Children coming up soon-ish. Then we've got Death Guard, Black Templar,
and World Eaters and Thousand Suns.
Oh yes, the Thousand Suns. Now that is a release that I'm looking forward to, because I really hope it again changes the entire composition of where the army is at the moment. Because like you were saying to me before, people are running one specific brand of Thousand Suns, and that's never really that fun, because it's just like, oh, is this all we are?
It's Magnus and his sorcerer pals. People aren't even running Scarab Occult at the moment. It's like they were my favourite, but now you have to be running at least 30 like rubrics to get anything out of it. And it's like, I love the rubric model, right? It is an absolutely gorgeous sculpt. It is also the biggest pain in the arse to paint ever, and it can bugger off and die.
Yeah, I've definitely painted enough trim now to never want to do it again. However, after discovering what you were telling me about with those metal paints and thinning them down and mixing them with another paint thing, that's helped so much getting metals just on models. So,
yeah, it basically turns them into a contrast paint.
To the point where I'm like, oh, maybe I should return to some Chaos Space Marines. And then I think to myself, no, Jules, wait until the inevitable Emperor's Children release, and then you will have enough trim and enough... And the worst thing is, I'm going to have to paint them well, because obviously they're a legion that don't do things by half measures, so I'm just going to have to be like, oh no, tidy armour, oh no, heavy metal paint schemes, oh no, there's a year of my life.
No. Remember, in the lore, they were basically trying to be the most garish a man can be.
Yeah.
So in some of the war bands, they literally just have thousands of different splashes of paint on them. So you could just say, I've just painted them like that, instead of actually trying, and you could just basically modern art it and just flick paint at the models and go, well, this is what they did.
That would be so good if I ended up having them as like the Jackson Pollock the guys.
Yeah, exactly. It's the court of his powerful repose or something like this. His great name, can't remember it very well.
Because it's all sexual or themed, so it could be the Pollock Bollock gang.
Yes, that. No, don't do that. Yeah, no, actually, I take that back. Do that. That's a great choice.
Imagine
well
that,
done,
me trying to submit that to the Warhammer community things, and they're just like, so what have you named your faction again, Jill? Oh, the Pollock Bollocks. Yeah, sure.
I don't think they'll be on board. Unsurprisingly. Especially as they really are trying to get away from the fact that Slaanesh is the sexy one.
They're doing it in such an odd way, aren't they? Because they're constantly just hyping up. It's like, yes, look, Slaanesh is all things here, and we don't want to talk about this, but we will talk extensively about baby mutilation for the Night Lords.
Oh yeah, like I've said it to you so many times. I've never read a book where I never thought I'd sympathise with a character who skins babies. Yeah, big fan of Talos of the Fourth Claw, or First Claw as it were. He was great, except for the baby skinning and the general being a horrible bastard for most of the entire series.
It's always the way, isn't it? You think to yourself, oh, you've met a nice new friend, he seems a bit funny, and then all of a sudden, oh, bloody hell, baby here, bloody hell, oh god, here we go again.
Well, there's parts of the book where you're just like, oh, he's a really horrible bastard. Like, he catches, again, sorry guys, spoilers for books that you may or may not ever read. There is a part where, Conrad Kurz dies,
yes,
right?
Yeah.
And he gets killed by an assassin.
Yes.
Well, Talos catches said assassin, gets the crap kicked out of him by the assassin, because assassins can beat up Astartes, it's just part of the law. But he grabs hold of her and just spits in her face and melts her face off.
Spit.
Yeah, so it's like going into her eyes. And fair play, she still gives him a hammering as her eyes are literally bubbling in her skull. So you could give her a dues like she was an hard girl.
It's an underused part of Space Marine lore. It would be so good if instead of a pistol shot, you got acid spit as an option.
Yeah, and if they were like Reptile from Mortal Kombat 2 kind of thing, that'd be amazing.
Yeah, that'd be good.
But yeah, there's a lot of characters in 40k where you're like, I really shouldn't sympathise with this guy because of the old mutilation thing, but I do like him. Another one for that is Argel Tal, who's in the Word Bearers, and really you should never, ever, ever sympathise with any Word Bearers because they're the worst.
Was
but I love him.
The first person who became a possessed?
Yes, and he basically becomes and he's basically the size of a demon prince, and the model for him is so lovely.
It's weird, isn't it? Because that's a Horus Heresy model, isn't it?
Yeah, and I absolutely adore the model. Yes, the Galt Vorbak leader is him.
See, I honestly love some of the models that they've kicked out for the Horus Heresy stuff, because they just feel so flavoursome and have like the Data Inquisitioner for the Alpha Legion, and it's just such a shame that there's no equivalent to run them in 40k. And I know that obviously the armors and times have changed a lot, but it would be so nice to just be like, oh cool, just give me a 40k variant of that.
Well, especially with Chaos, because, you know, they live in a realm that doesn't have time.
Yeah.
So, you know, what could feel like a week to one would be 1,000 years to someone sitting on the outside. So their armor pattern hasn't exactly changed a lot.
True.
You know, like the only way they get new armor is either they've sided with someone like Vashtor, or they've beaten up a Space Marine chapter and just gone, delicious, lovely armor. Let's just glue this pad here and that bit there, and it'd be fine. Like,
what a glorious waste of space Vashtor is. I love him so much, and the model was so much fun to paint. But every time I look at his stat sheet and what he does for vehicles, I'm just like, I can't justify running you in an army. You just don't have anything good.
Well, if you notice, none of us seem to run Chaos Space Marines ever. I can never be bothered. Yeah, I can never be bothered to play my my Alpha Legion.
Yeah, and that's a shame because they are a beautiful army as well. Because Gary B did the majority of them. You did some of them, didn't you?
No, I did nothing.
Oh, okay.
I just did some rebasing on some of them. And that's about it, really. Well, this is the thing. I've got a Mauler Fiend and a Warp Smith to add to them, but I just don't want to paint them.
No, I know. The trim has killed you, man. Oh, Lawson's back in the chat saying Vashtor should have been the big bad of 10th. Agreed, man. They hyped him up so much. And it's like, haha, Sharad, you are. I've taken this thing that was really important, and now the Lion is back, and all this amazing plan. And it's like, awesome. Make him into like a really cool, and he's got an amazing model. Like, there's no two bones about it. He is one of the best looking things they've designed in a long time, with his big mechanical wings and stuff like that. But on the tabletop, you're just kind of like, and he has the potential to die in a regular round of shooting. Cool.
Yeah. No, absolutely. And like the thing that he took is T'Chulka, which is like an AI that the Lion was very fond of, and was super cool. And I really want to see what happens to that storyline, but I haven't really kept up with 10th edition storyline because basically nothing happens because they don't want to kill any characters, and I understand it. You know, George R.R. Martin killed too many characters, and therefore now everybody's scared to do it at all. And he also put too many wieners in every single book, but, you know, as South Park pointed out.
The thing is that, like, I really wish that they would just have the courage to kill off some characters. Like, I said this on the drive back from King of the North. I feel like they're in a position now where there's so many named characters that they could kill off a few just to move them along, to make them feel like there's actual weight to the things going on inside the 40k books. Like, I am a huge Spaceball fan, but I wouldn't care if they killed off Logan Grimnar. I wouldn't care if they just said, right, okay, Ragnar Blackmane is now the official de facto leader of the Space Wolves, and we're gonna lose, like, Lucas the Trickster finally dies in battle or something like that. Like, cool. Like, have them as Legends characters. No one's running them anyway, so why not just like move them on so that we can have a bit of weight to some of the story?
Yeah, well, and that's the thing. They could then come up with more cool characters to actually get involved, and that'd be really nice. Like, like Yarick getting killed off book, just as a little token gesture in the side of the Orc Codex. It's like you had the courage to kill someone you never should have killed.
Yeah, that was a bit of a
and
mistake.
Yet
That was. It's funny because they've moved on with the wrong death, effectively. But at least they did.
Yeah. But it's like the way they killed off Yarick, because if you look at how orcs are, and their belief that Yarick is basically immortal meant that he should have been immortal.
Yeah, and also it means... I mean, maybe they could have it so that he comes back at some point, but still, I wouldn't even complain about that. But it's like, there's other people like Sly Marbo, for example. People like that, where you go, you are a hero, but there's no way you should be alive by now, you know what I mean? Like, I'm sure...
Or like Lysander for the Imperial Fists.
Yeah.
You know, I would be okay if he got killed off and they'd bring someone else in to do this. Yeah. That would be really, really cool. Because as much as I love Lysander, and the fact that his weapon is basically just a hammer that looks like a fist, it's like, it's the silliest weapon. And I do truly enjoy like that, and like he's had some good story, but yeah, just kill him off.
Yeah.
Like, do something new, you know. Get some new characters. Like, just give us a bit of spice, especially when it comes to Marines.
Yeah.
Like, I don't think you can do it so much for other factions, because obviously they never get the love that Marines get. So, you know, like if you were to kill off,
Well, think about it this way. They've already written, what's his name? The Vulture... I can't remember his bloody name. Zagstruck. They've already written Badruck into Legends. Just kill them off. Like at that point there, if you're putting them into Legends, kill them in a glorious, spectacular, amazing send-off. Because it's like, Badruck, leader of the Flashkits, imagine him going in with his freebooters and then just getting absolutely fucked up by something. Or have... the Zagruck land on a planet and get annihilated by a new kill team that's coming out. You know, something like that. I wouldn't even mind, because if you're going to move them all to Legends anyway, then you're done with them. So just kill them. Take advantage of that. And yes, people are talking about Unvar, the space pope of the Tau. Yeah, he's been an AI robot for the last 100 years in the plot, and I think that's a really cool way of killing off a character, because he's so integral to the Tau society. They don't want to kill him off in-game, like actually within the lore itself, because he's a pivotal part of it. But in terms of like his model and stuff like that, he isn't actually in the game anymore. Yeah.
Like you can't play as him, but he is so important that it's like they just wheel him out to his cadaver and like get him to chat. Hello, Smithers. You are good at turning me on.
I feel like you're just you end up writing yourself into a corner by not allowing these characters to die. And let's face it, some of them, they're not exactly fan favourites, are they? They're kind of just like, oh yeah, it's that guy. Oh yeah, that guy did that, did he? Oh, okay, fair enough.
Exactly. Like frankly, I may be the only person in the world who cares about Lysander.
Yeah.
Like it's probably me. Yeah. Like I am the sole member of his fan club, because again, hammer that looks like a fist. Brilliant. Yeah. Completely silly. That's it. Everyone else is like, well, yeah, who's that guy? Louis has asked, have we seen what's happened with the Yanari storylines? No, I've been meaning to read the lore on the Elder, because I've heard that people are not pleased.
Why, what's that?
By what? I don't know. I decided not to go any further in the video, because I thought, you know what, I'll pick up a book and do some reading. Obviously, as you know, I have to wedge you myself before I do any reading, because reading's for nerds. So
TLDR, I wouldn't mind, of the shorthand version of it, unless it's...
What does TLDR stand for?
Too long, didn't read.
Oh, that's why I could never just figure it out from the letters.
Yeah, it's just like one of those things where it's a very offensive put down to somebody who spent a long time crafting a message.
Yeah. Well, anything over a few sentences seems to shut most people down these days.
Also, So I was listening to the What Culture Wrestling podcast the other day, and Michael Sidgwick pointed out how amazing this put down is and how infrequently it's used. But it's like not even that offensive, and that is just calling something or someone useless. And it's just like, when you think about it, it's just like, that is actually so goddamn harsh, isn't it? There's no coming back from it, from being told you are useless. It's just like, oh my god.
I think my favourite put down is, if you were a spice, you would be flour. From Bob's Burgers. I was like, that is the most savage thing anyone's ever said to someone.
If it's said without swearing, without having to get into somebody's face, it's just perfect on the put down there. Okay, so Louis saying, Inari in the new codex have gone from world-changing force to, oh no, my friends all left, and I'm going to go play with spirit stones in the corner. Oh, so what are we basically? Are they basically saying that the Eldar are not on the same power level as like the Necrons, like superior technology and stuff? Now they're just like, we are officially now the dying race, and we're going to try and stay out of the conflict as much as possible.
Been like that lore-wise for a long time.
What, that they just want to stay out of it?
Yeah. Well, if you think about it, the Necrons are waking up.
Yeah.
Whereas the Eldar are hemorrhaging people. You know, there's in one of the books where the cacophony of Emperor's children scream a hole in the side of a craft world and go in and harvest.
That's the most
they go in.
Statement ever, by the way.
I know it's fantastic. Yeah, you should see it. It's I say see it. Read it. Yeah, it's absolutely fantastic. And then they go in and just eat all the spirit stones because they love being dicks. And it's fantastic.
Going back to what Lawson said here with Morden Val is a goddamn High Lord of Terror, and that seems like it should be a bigger deal than it actually is. Totally agree. They always seem to posit these new characters. They come in, they make a bit of a splash, rules-wise, or whatever, and then they never seem to feature in the story because they just go back to old reliables. Because it's just like, bloody hell, this is a scrappy-do scenario. People are going to hate it if we try and make somebody introduce that. But it's like, people are attracted to new characters if they're well written and well designed and not just shoehorned into plots and stuff like that. There are ways to make people care about new characters.
Oh no, absolutely. It's frustrating, you know. It's always like, and we need to reel out the baddies and the goodies. Somebody get Calgar, wake him up. Somebody get Abaddon. They're going to have a fight and nobody's going to die.
The amount of times that they've rolled out the Abaddon thing where it's just been like, oh, no, time for another massive crusade. And I know that he never really technically stops because he's just going and going and going. But there is
stop, won't stop.
But there is only so many times that you can just be like, oh, this bloody guy again. Jesus Christ, get that hint, isn't it?
Well, it's the fact that it took him that many crusades to find a sword. You know, It's like, get a blacksmith, jerk.
Wait,
you know.
So he found the sword. Has he actually got to use it yet?
Yeah. Oh man, he's going around murderizing with that thing all the time.
Okay,
it's just that
it hasn't actually got him any closer to his goal.
Not really. No.
Good, great, love that. I need this.
Well, the whole point of the black. Yeah. Well, it's the anathema, isn't it, of the Emperor? Is the point of the sword? It's the demon that is perfect for killing the Emperor. But no, to be honest, most of the Black Crusades are about him destroying pylons made by the Necrons, and hence why we've got the Citrix Maledictum happening now.
We must construct
but really,
pylons.
Yeah, essentially the Protoss could have just made some more pylons and everything would have been fine. But there we are. More StarCraft added to 40k. Actually, and I'm here for it.
So Louis has just expanded upon their thought and said, basically, Inari models didn't get bought and played enough, so GW backtracked and just said, actually, they didn't achieve anything, so most of them gave up. I'm not going to lie, I'm totally here for that. I know that there are going to be so many Eldar players that are absolutely pissed that they basically got told their boys sucked enough and went home. But I actually am so... It's like the amount of joy it gave me when I started playing XCOM 2, and then they said at the beginning of that, it's like, no, you lost. And I was like, I'm pretty sure that I won in XCOM 1 remake.
Yeah.
And then they go, no, well, what we did is we actually looked at all the player data, and over 50% of people did not complete and save the world, so therefore we just written it based around that fact that you lost. And I was like, yeah, let's do that. I suck.
No, well, yeah, and I'd like to say that I was not part of that 50%, and I've completed XCOM 1 many times.
Absolute scrubs, mate. Absolute. Get on it now. Play it.
Although I didn't like XCOM 2, and I know we've had this conversation before, I really didn't like the you've got three turns to complete this entire mission concept, and
yeah, I feel like it was
set up and die.
It was a very, very time-pressured game when the previous game was a lot more tactics and take your time. But when that expansion came out, War of the Chosen, ooh, baby, that was easily hands down my favourite expansion probably ever released for a video game. Just it was that damn good.
Well, if you love it so much, why don't you marry it?
Legally, if I could, I would.
And have,
yeah. Say hello to my wife. You can call her War.
This expansion.
Yeah. But yes, I kind of am. I know I'm laughing at others' pain when it comes to the Inari, but somebody's got to take the punishment. We were just talking about killing off characters. Somebody's got to take the hit, and if it is the Eldar, fine. Just cry yourself to sleep with your 75% win ratio from the end of 9th edition. I'm sure that your time will come again soon. Everyone gets a turn in the sun, and everyone gets a kick in at some point.
Yeah, it's just a shame for the Eldar that everybody's going to remember that 75% win rate forever now, and they will never get any sympathy going forward. Not that they ever got any sympathy anyway, because everyone was like, well, it's the Eldar, isn't it?
Well, it was like one of our mates, Reece John Jones, he was on about, like, do you know what I hate about English rugby fans? And I was like, please, do tell, because you know me, I love rugby and sports. And he was just like,
you are all about rugby, it's true.
Yeah, true. And he just goes, they don't bloody stop going on about bloody Johnny Wilkinson, or whatever his name is, like, scoring that thing years ago, over a decade ago, probably about this point here. They never bloody shut up about it. And I was like, yeah, people hold on to stuff, man.
And also the irony of that statement coming from a Welsh rugby fan, when all the Welsh rugby team ever do is talk about, in the 70s, we had the best team there's ever been, Lick, and they were so good, and we beat everyone. It's like, yeah, boys, stop harping on about something that happened over half a century ago. Yeah.
I still find it funny that there's probably still people out there in America who bring up, well, we saved our ass in World War II comment, like a fair amount, you know what I mean?
It's like, thanks. I wasn't even a twinkle in my grandfather's eye at that point. What relevance does it have?
Count Poro's just reminded us, it's so sad that they're not planning on making XCOM 3, I know.
They're not?
No, with Firaxis. Well, they did XCOM Chimera as like a testing bed to see if other developers might be able to handle it, because Firaxis went on to make the Marvel Midnight Suns video game, which I absolutely adore, and a lot of people just did not gel with, and that's absolutely fine. Then
said with a lot of bitterness.
Yeah, a little tinge there, and they've basically just been pulled onto other projects ever since, and XCOM Chimera did not do that well. It was a mechanically interesting game, but I had no real love for it, and so I
remember seeing it advertised.
Yeah, like,
but I don't know even know what it was about.
Do you know what, mate? I reckon that you would enjoy it probably about as much as I did, and it's like a very 7 out of 10 game. The idea.
Oh, I do like a 7 out of 10.
The principle of it's really cool, because they basically are just saying, right, okay, so XCOM 2 went far better than XCOM 1, and in this future, human and alien species of different types are now living in an uneasy alliance, and you play as like a police force that goes and monitors, disrupts, and tries to keep this city safe. And so you've got to go all around the different districts like you did in the world map, making sure that the threat levels are low, and making sure that these people aren't doing illegal activities. And you go into battles, but the interesting take on the battle system was that you would be able to breach doors and walls, so that you would create cover and also get the jump on your enemy depending on how you approached the combat. And it is...
That's not a terrible idea, actually. That sounds like quite a smart way to go about it.
It's a really good idea. It's a scaled-down version of everything that made XCOM great. The problem is that there was a lot of character-driven story narrative, so that meant that you had, like, to suddenly deal with the writing of characters and motivations, and they didn't handle it the best. I felt that there was a lot of, like, just basic, boring, tropey sci-fi writing that you were just like, you could see all the twists coming a mile off, and there wasn't really much to keep you engaged and pull you through the story. And it was a very the customization and character growth of your like skills and stuff was so fixed compared to the freeform nature of XCOM 1 and 2. So that just meant that you wouldn't have like your cool bespoke squad of like 5 snipers if you wanted to go completely mad with it. You would be like,
which I always did.
Yeah, it's like, no, you've got like heavy now, you've got your interrogator, you've got to it forces you to use the different classes, and I don't think that XCOM players like that idea of being forced to do anything. So it just kind of went down of like, yeah, this game is functionally okay but forgettable.
Yeah, and to be fair, if they're going to do the story-driven thing and I can't make every single character kiss each other, then I'm not interested, and they shouldn't do that.
Exactly.
Yeah, unless I can get them in a big pile.
Yeah, like Louis says, perfectly sums it up here, they tried to Rainbow Six Siege XCOM with it, and yeah, it's if you like that style of thing, then that's great. And Count follows up by saying, I had fun with Chimera, but I agree it couldn't hold my attention enough to finish the story. Yeah, and that's the problem, isn't it? And it's a real shame, because the gameplay of XCOM 1 and 2 was so relentlessly good. It carried you through the game. And effectively, there wasn't a storyline there. It was just like, the aliens are here, you need to stop them. And Gubbins, magical suit that allows you to become one of the chosen. Blah, 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 blah. Let's wrap things up at the end. You weren't playing it for the story, you were just playing it for that intense gameplay and the time pressure. Whereas Chimera was just kind of like, hey, wouldn't it be funny if we had a comedy section and buddy cop isms in this? Ooh.
Unless they referred to themselves exclusively as police cops,
well, the thing
and kept demanding people to hit the shower every 5 seconds, I'm not in.
If they, I feel like there was a way to do it, and they should have lent fully into a sort of more light-hearted comedy role, as weird as that sounds. But because they played it kind of down the middle and tried to Joss Whedon their way through things with quips and all these other like, oh, I'm the edgy one, no, I'm the edgy one, no, I'm the edgy and funny one, then it was just like, right, yeah.
Yeah, that what you've just described hurts my soul, and I want they should feel bad for trying.
Oh man, like honestly, I've been watching the newest trailers that have just come out for the new slew of Marvel films, like the new Captain America, the new Thunderbolts trailer, and there was another one, I can't remember what it was for. I just looked at them, and you know that fatigue that hit everyone planet-wide when Infinity War ended? It still hasn't let up. I just am watching this just going, oh my god, there is nothing interesting at all going on in the Marvel formula anymore. I do not care about these. We're on to like C-tier superheroes because we've run every other sort of well dry. Every character sounds the same. Everyone's got to have a funny quip and a line, and it's just like, oh my god, this is so tedious. Like, we can't all be Guardians of the Galaxy. Come on, guys.
Yeah, I lost my... Basically, the second they added Doctor Strange to Marvel, I was done. I just thought a guy who wiggles his hands around whilst doing CGI, and that was his entire character. I was like, nope. There is no charm to this character whatsoever. Whereas, like Iron Man was he did that role perfectly, but then it was just wiggly hand CGI character. Oh my god, look how the perspective is switched. Yeah.
We ended up with a real sense of power creep towards the end of that Infinity Saga stuff, because it's just like, okay, you've got somebody here who is got the actual power of a supernova inside of them. We can't go backwards. And then it was like the Eternals or whatever it was introduced us to actual gods. And it's like, we can't go back from this, guys. And now they've tried to scale it all back by having the Thunderbolt specifically go, wait, so none of us can fly? All we do is punch people really hard? I respect them trying to go for the whole, like, let's nuke it, start again, ground zero. Problem is, though, Genie's out of the bottle, and no matter how you cut it, those other characters still exist in that universe, and you can't deny their existence. So at the back of your mind, you're always thinking, my god, this plot would be wrapped up in about 30 seconds if Doctor Strange decided to show up out of the blue, and they probably use those type of characters as their Deus Ex Machina get out of jail free card, you know?
Yeah, it's like, right, we need someone who can wiggle their hands really hard.
Oh,
get him.
So,
problem solved.
Louis does make a good point here. Deadpool and Wolverine was the only good recent Marvel film out, and even then I think I reached my maximum Deadpool for now, and he's my favourite character. I heard good things about that film. I've yet to watch it, to be honest, because again, I've just had a bit of burnout across the entire franchise of all Marvel.
I watched it the other day. I had a lovely time with it. I really enjoyed it. All the silly cameos. It actually had a little bit that hit me in the feels.
Okay.
It was a really, really well put together Marvel film. I just don't want them to flog the bones of this dead horse anymore. Yeah, I think they should just leave them rot for a bit, and then we'll buy a new horse and pretend the first one didn't die.
Are we done with Deadpool as well? Do we think that 3 is enough for this?
Absolutely. Yeah. Yes, 100% no more Deadpool, please. That film was a beautiful swan song, did a great job, very silly, a lot of fun. Please don't do another one. For the love of God, don't do another one.
It's always a weird sentiment, that, isn't it? I loved it, thank you very much, never do it again.
Yeah, well, it's kind of how, like, you know me, man. You know that I am the biggest Star Wars fanboy going. And even I am just like, please stop, it's already dead.
As you sit there crying into your Sarlacc popcorn bucket watching the Skeleton Crew. Like...
Yeah, exactly.
Have you watched Skeleton Crew yet?
Yeah, I haven't finished it. It's just the Goonies in space.
I just love the fact that I knew as soon as I said it, there was a bit of you like cringing a bit, like, oh, I have watched it. I bloody watched it, Jules. Of course I've watched it.
Yeah, well, I'm not gonna not watch the shows. You know, like I even finished The Acolyte, even though it actually hurt my soul.
But The Acolyte's according to finished now, isn't it? Like it's got cancelled.
Yes, and it has to be burnt at the stake for what it did.
So so it's cancelled, and I'm assuming unresolved plots as well.
Yeah, but nobody cares because the plots can often die, kind of thing. Like, as someone who's read extensive Legends books and really into Star Wars lore, it's just like, no, stop it, you awful, wretched dick. You have ruined something pure and amazing here. And then to turn around to the fan base and go, you only don't like it because you're a misogynist. It's like, I am not, thank you very much. I just don't like terrible stories written terribly by terrible people.
Yeah, no, that's fair
God, it makes me so upset to be someone to accuse me of that when it's like, hang on, Princess Leia was like my hero as a kid. How dare you?
Whoa, Beanie, Mr. Misogyny over here. He doesn't like the story. He doesn't like how he's asking for well-written stories. Oh my god. Who does he think he is? The King of Spain?
They literally changed someone's birth date just so they'd fit into the show.
Wait, what? Why? What does that matter?
So
I haven't seen this. I have no idea. That was such a strange statement for you to make. That's really bamboozled me.
Okay, so you've seen The Phantom Menace, right?
Oh, have I?
So in The Phantom Menace, Ki-Adi-Mundi says, the Sith haven't been seen for 1,000 years. And he's got a giant head, which actually has his heart in it, which is really fun. He wears it on his head.
I immediately trust him more because I'm like, there's a guy who looks smart.
Exactly, that he's wearing his heart on the sleeve in overtime. And this guy literally bold as brass says to the Jedi Council, the Sith haven't been seen in 1,000 years. And then they bring him back into the Acolyte show years before he's even meant to be born to be a part of the cover-up of them discovering the Sith. It's like, no, this isn't me being a misogynist or anything. This is me being angry that you took a big dump onto George Lucas's vision. You gits. Oh, I'm really angry now. I'm gonna have to go into my angry chamber and walk around going.
It's so funny because your mic cut out just as you went then, so it sounded like it actually got inside it.
But yeah, so yeah, that's one of my big gripes. Is the guy basically had his life extended by 30 years just so they could try and justify their terrible story.
Love that for him. How's your painting coming along, by the way, Bean? Show the people at home.
I would, but it's hard with the light here to get it. So
nice, actually. Oh, very nice, very nice.
So I've just been doing a little bit on him, but then I've done all 5 of the other characters that I've been going on. Nice. So he's all red and shiny with the gold done. Because I'm gonna need to do an oil wash soon to do the golds as I like them. But everybody's coming along now. Oh, yeah, I'm pretty happy with it. You know, like I love this unit because I love the Ironkin. I love me some little robots.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's been a pleasure to paint. How's your painting going? Because I've found it hard to watch you paint whilst trying to paint my own thing and rant at people about Star Wars as I get more and more unhinged.
It's going well at the moment. I've managed to do 1 layer over the top of all the orcs' skins, so they'll probably just need another layer and then some highlights going onto that. I've managed to do all of their trousers, and I have also managed to now go across and do all of their jackets. So basically, I'm just kind of working my way through the orc body parts, and then I'm going to have to just deal and bite the bullet and do all of the crazy rockets on their back at some other point, because it's just like, it's the boring process of highlighting metals using the rust effects. And just
I get it.
And stuff on. Like, I'll have fun when it comes to painting weird patterns and stuff on it, but for right now, I'm just focusing on getting the bodies of the boys done, so that it's just the rocket is its own separate project. But I'm pretty happy with it. If I basically chucked a load of diorama mud onto the bottom, I could probably field these guys, and it wouldn't look too out of place. So that's always.
But we would know that they're not done, exactly. And I bring it up liberally.
And the thing is that like I've got these 10 Stormboyz here, so I've got like a max unit or 2 units of 5, and I want to run them as a test. I'm probably not going to run them that often. They're just like a nice accoutrement to the other stuff that I've got going, because apart from their admittedly rather cool ability to advance and charge when they've got a 12-inch base movement, which is pretty gnarly.
That is very, very nice.
They are just regular orc boys, so they will die to a stiff breeze. But then again, they are 65 points for 5, so they are still cheaper than Assault Marines, I think.
Yes, they are.
So there you go.
Assault Marines are 85 points.
There you go. They'll get in there, they'll do something, and they'll die.
Oh, I painted over cloth with gold like a fool.
The bloody acolyte did that to you.
I know. Oh, why did you mention it again? Oh, why did they make the Sith Lords sexy? Sith Lords aren't sexy. They're evil.
Yeah, they're meant to be
okay,
ugly.
Bane was kind of... Yeah, they're meant to be ugly, you know, like you get the weird melty face after a while. And okay, Bane in his younger years was described as a bit of a stud, like, because he was like 6'8" and built like a brick shithouse. So, you know, that was great until he got the obelisk armor, and then all the parasites on his skin, which just still makes me shudder every time I think about it. Yeah.
Just chittering away constantly. Must be a nightmare to try and sleep.
Yeah, well, it's the fact that in the books they talk about that he wears a special helmet, so they don't grow over his face and suffocate him in his sleep. But they never once mention, does he wear special pants so they don't cover his butthole and his wang? Which then makes me think,
that they actually are covering.
And he's got chittering things on his wiener and his butthole.
Excuse me, that chittering noise is just my penis.
Oh yeah, sorry guys. Someone has mentioned both Darth Talon and Darth Maul, and yes, they are both super sexy. I apologise. I forgot about Darth Talon. In particular, she was an absolute stone cold fox, and Darth Maul made us all feel things. So I apologise on that one. Yes, most Sith aren't sexy, but they are some notable exceptions of this.
I remember Darth Maul being my first sort of wait what moment when it came to Star Wars, when it was just like, oh yeah, he's still alive, and I was like, no, I've watched episode 1. He very clearly got cut in half. And then they were like, have you not seen the Star Wars animated series or wherever they were that they brought him back? And the Clone
Wars.
And I was like, no, I watched the Clone Wars mini-series. And they were like, oh, yeah, you've got to watch this. So I watched it and I was like, bloody hell, he's got spider legs. He's got spider legs on his back. He's got spider legs on his back. And then he's going up with his brother, who's got the most stupid name in the world.
Savage Opress.
I was just like, are you kidding me? I mean, the naming conventions for Star Wars.
Come on now, Savage.
They really are in a league of their own of just pure silliness. Because I'm pretty sure that Louis said earlier, like, Derp Shitto or something like that was a name of a character.
Yes. And Chris has mentioned Adam Driver is sexy. Yes, he is, but do you really think he was actually a Sith, or he was just a crybaby?
He never really came across as a Sith.
Yeah,
I was always expecting him to do a face turn, and then we only got like the real mild revelation at the very end of it, and I was like, oh, that felt like that was a big setup for very little, and then that's when it hit me. Oh, that's what this entire series is of remakes. They're just big setups for absolutely nothing.
Oh, the sequels are terrible. Oh,
they're the reboot sequels. That's what they're termed as now, aren't they?
Yeah. What they need to do is just kind of bury them and pretend it didn't happen, and just go, and it was all the fever dream of Kathleen Kennedy. And now for the real sequels where the things happen, like mentioned earlier, Darth Talon being involved. Brilliant. She is awesome. Because I don't know if you you know what George Lucas actually wanted to do for the sequels, and it was all about Maul taking over the underworld and getting his own apprentice, and it was going to be him and Darth Talon going around wrecking up the place, going up against the new Jedi Order. Yes. And it was going to be an amazing storyline, but instead they didn't even know who the main character's last name was until the last film.
That's ridiculous.
I'm Rey Palpatine. Are you? Great.
I always hated the way they try and tie so many characters into the larger narrative, because I understand that the reason they do it is because it's like destiny and legacy, everything is intertwined. The Force wills it so that, you know, everyone eventually falls back into the giant tapestry of this overarching plot. But there are just some connections that just never need to be made, and I don't care, and I swear that half the fan base don't either. So did you know?
Yeah, we don't.
It's like, did you know that this person actually was with this person on this mission here, and that's why they said this one line in the movie? I was like, I don't care. I really don't care.
And this is the thing, I'm the kind of person that would notice something like that, but then ultimately, like you say, I don't really care. Like, I want them, Chris has just mentioned that they can use the worlds between worlds to decanonize the sequels, and I'd be happy with that. That would honestly make the start of my year so much better if they turned around and said, and we're going to do that. And Luke Skywalker... So there's like a realm within the Force that certain people can get to that basically is like a massive guiding pathways that go into different portals that can allow Jedis to go back into different events in time, and
so
they could ultimately So there's a part in the TV show Rebels where so you know Ahsoka, who is Anakin's pupil, ends up fighting Vader, And at one point she gets saved before she gets murderized by Vader by being dragged through the world between worlds. They could just do a couple of events like that and go, and it didn't happen. Hooray, everybody's happy.
So they've not just established that it exists, they've actually used it as well. Oh, okay.
Yes. So it literally is a legitimate way they can go, and they all had lemonade, and Rey Skywalker never happened, and all these other things never happened, and Adam Driver actually got to be Jason's Solo instead, and it was way better.
But how can you say that about Rey when obviously without her we would never have got the infamous Fortnite exclusive of somehow Palpatine returns?
That I still occasionally
somehow.
Yeah.
It's just like, wait a minute. You're telling me we've got the longest running sci-fi opera pretty much ever made, and we have all the writing power. Like, we have infinite budgets at this point, and you're telling me the best you can come up with is somehow this guy lived.
Do you know they've actually explained it now in the bad? Yeah, they explained it in the Bad Batch, and I'm okay with the explanation. But when I saw those words come up, somehow the Emperor has survived, I wanted to crap blood and go into a coma rather than keep reading the statement. I was so angry.
I would have loved to have been involved in that sort of board meeting where they approved that as the go message. It's kind of like, right, so what have you got here then? I've got a 50-page document explaining the how, whats and whys that Palpatine could theoretically return here. And it's a bit wishy-washy, if I'm honest here. What have you got? I've got space pixies and magic fairy dust brought him back. That's pretty good. What have you got over there? I've got a post-it note that says somehow he returns. Well, to be honest, that's vague enough. Let's go. Let's go. We'll figure it out when we come to it. We've come to it now.
It's been 2 films and you still haven't figured this out.
It's like, surely this is...
And why did they kill Snoke?
I know.
Okay, he was a giant, melty face loser, but they could have made him less of a melty face loser and actually have him have a plot.
Yeah. It was a very strange collection of films. It was just like, how can you have such a large project with so much money and so much talent involved across different fields, and yet no one has a bloody clue what is going on?
Because nobody respected the law and the canon and everything that's come before it that is so wonderfully already explained stuff. Like I say, if you had actually followed what George Lucas wanted the sequels to be like, you would have, ended up with the hero of the story being Leia, which would have been really cool, instead of her having a floaty death in space, which made no sense. You would have had her be actually resolving the problem through politics and discussion instead of just constantly going, and space wizards are at it again. And it would have been a really interesting end to it after the Jedi had had their rumblings with Maul. And let's be fair, everybody's favourite Sith in the films was Maul, because he was the coolest guy ever. He had a pointy face that he could literally gore you with his skull, and a double-ended lightsaber that killed Qui-Gon, Space Jesus. It would have been so cool.
I genuinely love that battle sequence where he has just killed Qui-Gon, and it's now a waiting game as the laser force fields are just powering up, and he does that little sort of stalking motion in front of him, I've just killed your master, you're next, and there is nothing you can do until these doors open. And it's just there's very few times where I just go that is a really clever piece of cinematography, and otherwise, let's face it, it's a visually impressive film, but I don't usually think of Star Wars as being the magnum opus of cinematography, like I would say There Will Be Blood, or something like a visionary director.
Oh, dare you! Did you not see how... Oh, come on now. Did you not see how impractical Padme's dress was?
Yes.
To the point of which it actually looked like she was going to die when she tried to sit down and eat a pear.
But it's just there's so many elements of it that are just that I was just that is a genuinely powerful piece of cinematography there. And I remember watching it as a teenager in the cinemas for the first time and being like, holy shit, this film has just gotten great. It's a shame that it's at near the end. Again,
I love the prequels. The best thing the sequels ever did was make the prequels look great.
Yes.
And it's like all they actually achieved was make people appreciate what we had.
It's interesting to see like revisionists going into the Star Wars canon, and indeed just any sort of franchise that's been going for a long time, because like people grew up watching the reboot trilogy. There's like these people defending it, going like, no, like every other film in the Star Wars canon is shit, and it's actually these three films that are universally panned by most of the other Star Wars fan base that are actually great. And it's like, oh god, like, what's it called? It's not nostalgia, recency bias. It's just such a strong thing, isn't it?
Yeah, like I've always been on the side of the prequels because they were the ones that I grew up with, you know, the ones that I remember as a kid. So I loved them, whereas so many people just ragged on them and for the whole time saying they're not as good as the originals. And it's like, yeah, I kind of get what you mean, but also
gave us pod racing, mate. It gave us pod racing, and for that it will always be number one in my heart because, as I've told you many times, and I'm surprised that this hasn't become a story that they tell on Star Wars, they need to do an entire pod racing themed TV show about a rags to riches pod racer who just makes it big, and their story has nothing to do with Jedis, has nothing to do with these Skywalkers. It is just people living their lives the best they can under the sort of like control of the Hutt, like, and just them squeaking out a cheeky victory at the end, classic Mighty Duck style. Give us a feel-good moment. Bring Sebulba back. If you want to bring Sebulba back, fine. You know what I mean? Like, give us that as our one cameo from the past. Done.
Yeah, honestly, I'm on board. Absolutely, 1000%. I would watch the hell out of that show. Yeah. Where is it? Chris made a comment that I was going to address.
Oh, is he?
Yeah, no, absolutely. I want something that isn't the Skywalker saga, and you've just said it there, something like that, or just something so far removed from the prophecy concepts that doesn't have to rely, like you say, on these integral characters, like, oh, it's been a film and a half, we better get Yoda in. It'd be really cool to go back to some of the High Republic or Old Republic kind of looks and just go, no, well, Yoda, even being 900 years old, probably isn't even alive at this point. It would be very cool to get whole new characters.
You were telling me as well that, like, even the shows that have, like, promise, like The Mandalorian, they are so afraid of rocking the boat and changing things because from a formula that they've proven works, that you told me that they brought back Grogu, even though they were like, well, I've delivered the baby and I've done exactly what I want to do. Oh, but Grogu's back now. Cool, because everyone loves him, and we can't replace him, so he has to work in the story we've written now.
Well, it's even worse than that. They brought him back during another person's show.
Oh, it was the Book of Boba Fett. Is that when they brought him back?
Yeah. So halfway through the Book of Boba Fett, instead of actually leaning into the fact that Boba Fett is cool as hell, and should have been murdering people left, right, and centre like the bad man that he is, they went, let's just make it The Mandalorian 2.5, and we're just going to bring back Grogu. And then, so that means that poignant end scene in season 2 of The Mandalorian, where everybody, if you've got a heart, got a little bit choked up when he's handing baby Yoda over to Luke, and it was like, oh my god, he's done the thing that he had to do. Emotions, cry, brilliant. And then it's like, oh no, season 3, no, he's back, and now he's got a new hover chair. Great.
Grogu's back. Everyone should be asking, where's Grogu when he's off screen?
Yeah, exactly. It was definitely a Poochie moment, and it hurt my soul. Because again, I was so excited for Boba Fett getting to have a canonized story that I could watch, and then they made him lame.
They made him lame.
They made him so lame, man. He was not the man that he should have been.
By the way, Murphy's just joined in the chat saying, hello, you lovely people. I got a new job and can't watch as much, but I can today. Well, congratulations on your new job, brother. Hope that it's going well and that you're settling in. And thank you very much for joining us with what time that you can. I appreciate it as much as I do everyone who's taking time out of their Monday evenings to just come and chill with us and paint. It's a bit different from the usual warring that we usually do, but at the same time, I'm having a great time just painting and having a chat about silly things, mate. It's very nice and relaxed. Because
I may have ranted about Star Wars a bit.
Well, I always feel sometimes that when I do the paint streams on my solo, I end up just sort of like going into the stream of consciousness and just chatting about everything. But I always worry that it's just like, oh god, what if people realise I'm just actually like a really boring fucker? There's like, I've got nothing going on upstairs. At least with you here, I'm like, oh yeah, Beanie's here. Deflect.
Well, you're not boring.
Dance for the people, Bean.
Okay.
I want to see blood in those tap shoes, boy.
I'd have killed for Tapper Tapper Tapper.
Oh yeah, I love that. The cat that wipes his eyes, like.
Yeah. Ah. Yeah. Oh, that's such a good scene.
So funny. But what was Oh yeah. So Chris said a pod racer game with customization would go hard, and I need high-octane races like that in F-Zero. Imagine, just because, like, Star Wars Pod Racer, they got the recent, I say recent, it got a remaster.
Yeah, the HD remaster, yeah.
It was a perfectly serviceable game and reminded people that it was actually a really decent game at its core. And I just feel like you can take that a bit further. Just have, like, heavy amounts of customization in there. Like, make it so that it's got, like, that bit of Star Wars tinge to it, where like you could have themed races around different planets and stuff, and yeah, bishty bashty boshty, you've got a great game on your hands there.
Yeah, like you know, and depending on the time period you go with, if you want to actually add in some story elements and actually, you know, get it back to Star Wars. Before Jabba came in, there was Gardula the Hutt, who had different race tracks, and then all these other race like crime lords out there. And it could be that you were sent there by the Old Republic to discover all of the crimes that they're committing. But the only way to get close to the action was by winning the pod race.
You're an undercover spy sent in to try and infiltrate, and you can imagine all of the intrigue that comes with it as they potentially discover your true identity. They could put a bomb in your pod racer so it can't go down below a certain speed. You could like theme some of the races and put in. Yeah, that's exactly the type of game I want to play. You basically described Jack X combat racing, though. To be fair, but I am.
I know I did. As I said, but with a Star Wars theme.
And sometimes that's all you need, like Star Wars Masters of Terras Kasai, the fighting game. Do you remember that?
And it was impossible to draw your lightsaber.
Fuck me, that game was so utterly dog shit, and people have got such fond memories of it. And I'm like, have you played it recently? It was so bad. Apart from
do you remember the game Rise of the Robots? Yeah. That's all you did. It's like, shoot me in the leg, and we're done. Yeah, I love that. It was. I remember going to my friend's 9th birthday party, and his dad had rented it from Blockbuster for us, and we played it for hours, and we all just kind of looked at each other and said, have any of you figured out the buttons yet? Because I certainly haven't.
Is anyone having fun? I mean, Chris has just reminded me how great the Battlefront games were. Star Wars Battlefront 2 was absolutely amazing.
That was one on the PS2, wasn't it?
It was indeed, and it was the one where you had they added in the heroes, like so that you could play as like Vader and Yoda and all these other crazy people, and it just made those battles so much more fun. I wish upon a fish that they would bring back something like that. I don't know why a ticket-based multiplayer like that, where you have like a fixed amount of lives that are represented by NPC troops as well, just hasn't become a thing again. Well, the closest we got was maybe Titanfall, that had like AI troops running around and you could kill them, but
Titanfall 2 as well.
Yeah,
what a game! The one player, it was like, 10 hours?
Yeah.
And it was just 10 hours of absolute perfection. I had so much fun. I loved my robot friend. I was so sad when it got hurt.
No.
And all I wanted to do was protect my robot friend from all of the other robot friends.
BT, wasn't it? Or was it B?
Yeah.
I can't remember what it was. But I remember... Oh, actually, that's reminded me. Do you have a Game Pass, like Xbox Game Pass or anything like
that? I didn't end up using it enough, so I cancelled it.
Fair enough. They've introduced a nice little feature. Hi, Janko, by the way. Good to see you, mate.
Hello, Janko.
There is Where was I going with this? There is a feature on the Xbox Game Pass for PC Well, when you click on a game, it tells you now how long it takes to beat it, and then how long it takes to beat if you get it 100%, like roughly, based on user input and guides and stuff like that. And I was just thinking to myself, what a lovely feature. I am now looking at games in a very different light because of the fact that I don't actually get enough time to play many games, and a lot of the games are 100-hour plus experiences, and let's face it, sometimes I get nearly 60 hours in and bounce off them, and I do feel like a bit jaded by that point where I'm like, fucking hell, it feels like a waste of time because I didn't even see it through to completion. But nowadays,
absolutely,
I'm looking at stuff and it goes like, oh, this game can be beaten in 12 to 15 hours. This game can be beaten in 8 hours, the sweetest of spots. And I'm just like, oh yeah. Because I'm playing.
No, I feel that big.
I'm playing through Citizen Sleeper 2, and I'm going to do another stream on Wednesday for that. And that was listed as being only 8 hours to complete the main story. And I'm just like, hell yeah, baby. And I think that you'd like that game as well, because it is a dice-driven sci-fi RPG.
I caught like 10 minutes of your stream. I didn't actually have time to chat on it, and I saw it, and you rolled like 3 6s, and you were like, in a game where nobody rolls 6s, and I just got 3.
Oh,
yeah, I was like...
You left the good times, because I then proceeded to fail one of the main story missions by having such low rolls that I had... It was a 50-50 chance of having a neutral or negative outcome, and the neutral outcome would have... let's just say it decreases the health of the thing I was trying to do, and only had 1 health left anyway, so even if I succeeded, I would fail. I'm just sitting there going like, I am in an unwinnable position here, but I'm still having fun.
Yeah. Well, that's the sign of a good game, is that you can accept defeat.
Oh, it's just a really nice idea as well, of you just using dice for every action, so you just, and because you don't know what's round the corner, you think to yourself, oh, I'll hold on to my good rolls, I'll try and spare them, and then you're like, but you're losing so much health or money, hemorrhaging it to get to those points, that you're like, oh, actually it would have been better for me to spend my better rolls early.
Yeah, just a little bit, just so you can actually get to that point in the game.
Yeah, it's a very hindsight's 2020 game, and I really am appreciating it at the moment, so I'm looking forward to getting another round on that on Wednesday. Fun.
I nearly bought Pokemon Shield yesterday. I managed to resist. I've stopped myself because I've got to have the loft ladder put in to my house.
Yeah,
so being an adult had to come in the way of me wanting to play yet another Pokemon game.
No, I would say that was a smart choice, mate.
But I'm so want to play it.
How's your Breath of the Wild Tears of the Kingdom playthrough going?
So, again, I nearly completed it, and then I got distracted by something shiny, and I haven't played it in weeks, and now it feels weird going back to it.
Oh, you've got to force your way through and get back on it, haven't you? Because you've got to see it through to completion now. You're so...
Well, this is the thing.
And you've leveled up your character so much now that it's like almost... It would almost be a crime to have to start it again. Well,
this is the thing. I've found all the sages, done all the things. It is literally, I just have to go and beat up Ganon now. Kind of thing.
Apparently he's meant to be quite a tough boss. Like, apparently Breath of the Wild, he was a bit of a pushover. But they said that in...
Absolute pushover.
In Tears of the Kingdom, apparently he puts up a bit of a fight. A bit of a stinky boy.
Well, that's good that I've got the full stamina wheel and over 20 hearts.
Yeah, you'll probably absolutely steamroll him still, but at least he'll put up a bit of a resistance against you.
Well, this is the thing, like... I enjoyed that game so much because I've explored like most of the map and just enjoyed running around doing it.
Yeah.
But I would recommend it to anyone who needs a slightly lighter-hearted version of like an epic game that doesn't constantly make you feel like, oh shit, I need to be doing this, I need to be doing that. Because the amount of time that I've spent just looking for horses or just go looking for Koroks and just enjoying myself is unreal in that game. I just need to get back on it. Problem was I started playing Dragon Age, Dragon Quest Builder, and that game is proper addictive. It's so addictive.
Yeah, it's a really, really fun game, and the whole sort of building mechanic as well is just lovely. It's so simple, and I'm like, cool, fantastic. You can dive in there and have as much fun building a little town and repairing all of the damage done as you can going on big quests, and I love that.
Yeah, it's so perfectly done for me. Because as much as I like Minecraft and I really enjoyed Valheim,
Oh yeah, you
it's
did.
just that
Yeah, you did.
yeah, it did. Me and Valheim got on real well until I died in the middle of the ocean, many
Oh
miles
no.
away.
Does that mean that you have to respawn? How does it work?
So I would come back in my undies, and I could get, like, I could build a new boat and get myself over there and get it, but I don't know what happened to the marker, and it's a pretty big
So
ocean,
you're
so I
basically
don't.
gonna have to find
Yeah,
it, needle in a haystack style, is it?
yeah, it's definitely one of those situations. And to be fair, my friend Charlotte wants to start a new game with me on it, and we because it's meant to be a game played with others.
Yes.
And I did all game on my own. I'd love to give it a try with someone who's on my page with how we're going to play it, which is mainly we're going to build a pretty house, and that's what we're going to do. And occasionally fight sea monsters, and then get scared and run away back to the pretty house. That's just all I really want. I couldn't get past the third boss because he was too scary, and there was no one there to hold my hand. So
Amazing, amazing. Oh, I've just looked at the time. I actually have to get going, I'm afraid.
Oh, okay.
Has that actually been 2 hours already? Bloody hell, that's gone quick.
Oh.
Right, well, I'm going to have to power down, even though I've had a wonderful time chatting with you and painting some orcs, and I've actually managed to get quite a lot done, which is making me feel great about this, which means probably only one more big session left, and I should get the bodies done on them, and that would be a real blessing to get them off my painting table. But this has been our cheeky little painting stream. Show the people at home what you've done there, Bean. Oh, lovely stuff.
So I've been doing his gold pants. Look at his gold bum.
They're so shiny.
Oh yeah, so shiny.
Oh, Christopher Steves, good to see you, mate, and thank you very much for dropping in. I'll be back on Wednesday. Now, I will hopefully be doing another Citizen Sleeper game, but if the mood strikes, I may do another painting stream, and if Beanie is free again, I will see if I can rope him in. And next week, Beanie is away, correct? You're busy boy, so there will be a battle report coming out instead with Beanie versus Rapid, Blood Angels versus Dark Angels. The Battle of the Angels.
Oh yes.
Heaven and heaven, indeed. So, give us all a little support and follow if you got the time and you want to stay tuned to that. We'll be back on Wednesday, like I say, and Lawson will be streaming potentially again on Sunday, painting more Krieg, which is going to be even better. So there's a lot of creative stuff coming out on the channel very, very soon. But until then, take care of yourselves, have a great rest of your evening, and we'll speak to you soon. Goodbye, everyone. Goodbye. Goodbye.